Welcome back to Nightly Nonsense. We're wrapping up this whole end times thing. I went through some signs, some stuff like that. Tomorrow night, I want to wrap the whole thing up with a bow, really short and sweet. It's a Saturday night, but tonight I want to go back and I want to visit. What happens, right? What happens if we're wrong about some of the things that we think? But how should we be preparing for this? Listen, I'm with everybody else. I want there to be a pre-trib rapture where God takes out all of us before all the really, really, really bad things happen. But I need you to understand this. Number one, it doesn't mean that really bad things aren't going to happen. So if there is a pre-trib rapture, right, then guess what? It does not mean that you're not going to have to go through really hard things. It just means you're not going to have to go through the really, really hard things, right? You're not going to probably have to endure the mark of the beast that everybody has to have it, right? You're not going to have all of the hardships that are coming, right? The impossible things without God that are coming. You're not going to see all the death and destruction to the magnitude that the Revelation talks about. But that doesn't mean you're not going to see death and destruction, because we're seeing it right now. In case you aren't paying attention, Hawaii's on fire, right? You're destroying some really beautiful parts of Hawaii. There's a bunch of things that are happening in the world that are destructive in nature. We're having to see some really bad things and live through. I'm not saying that's the tribulation. I'm saying bad things are happening. So if you believe in pre-trib, right, you still need to be prepared for the things that are coming. We don't live in fear of it, but we are prepared for it, right? We do know that, hey, famine and pestilence and plague and all of these things, they may hit us, right, before the tribulation, because they have for 2,000 years, right? So again, we look at this with I hope this is what happens. But if it doesn't happen, then I need to prepare. How am I preparing, right? All kinds of websites, all kinds of places out there giving you all kinds of information. Get a bunch of food, get a bunch of stuff, right? I think the most important thing is the networking thing. God tells us that we're to be a community, we're to be a family, right? We're to be one body. Do you have connections with people? You don't have to have all of the things necessary to survive off the grid if something bad happens. But you do need to know people who have things, right? That's important. God has probably been working over the years for you to network with people anyway. So are you prepared that way? Are you listening to God when He's telling you to do things, when He's telling you and giving you things? Are you paying attention to those things, right? Are you paying attention and making the right connections? Getting ready. Do you have food supplies if God has told you to do that? Right? Do you know where food supplies are? Right? Do you have the right preparation skills? Do you know? Have you read your Bible? Do you know what is going to be expected to you? You know what? If you have to make it through the tribulation, you know how hard that's going to be, right? You know that God says through Jesus, hey, in the last days, the love of many is going to grow cold. Right? The longer this goes on and on and on, the more of a chance there is that you're the one that your love goes cold. Are you noticing that? Are you paying attention? Are you fighting against that? Man, look, I really want to dislike. I want to be angry. I want to hate. Right? Politicians bring this out of us. Is the love that you have for other people, is it growing cold? Are you loving correctly? Do you know your word? Right? We live in an age where everything's online. You understand that in one moment they can push a button and you will have no access to all of your online stuff. That includes books and information, right? They will control information. We just live in a country where we think we're always going to have a Supreme Court to protect us. Always going to, like, these things are going to be protected, never going to go, yet we've watched over and over and over as things have changed. We live in a world, right, where it's getting increasingly harder to be a Christian. Getting increasingly harder to function with morals and absolutes and standards. People want us to constantly be relaxing our standards, annulling our standards, getting rid of our standards, changing our standards. Those same people are asking us to give up our standards, are setting standards that are ungodly in nature. They're making their own idols and telling us we have to worship these things. That if we don't accept this, if we don't do this, that you're being unloving, that you're not a Christian. Folks, we're going to enter a time where Christian talk is going to become, right, hate speech. You can be arrested for saying things. Oh, wait, we already are living in that time. Pay attention to how many people are losing their jobs and are being arrested and all of these things because they're doing those things. So we need to understand, are you preparing yourself to be wrong? Are you preparing yourself to have to live through this time period? So why you might want to pay a little more attention than maybe you are. I don't have to worry about that. Probably shouldn't be in our vocabulary. Because even if it's true and you and I don't have to worry about it, and I hope so, well, you know what? We ought to be preparing the people who aren't going to believe that. We ought to be preparing so that people know, like, hey, I know these things, right? So be prepared for that which you might not think is coming. Right? Get yourself ready, just in case. We'll talk to you next time. Nightly Nonsense.